Hello, everyone, and all ships at sea. Skip Healy here from Volin, Switzerland, with the long-awaited episode Lucky 13 of the Empty Pockets podcast with Skip Healy, featuring the famous French connection, my buddies Olivier Leclercq and Nico Hueber, all together known as the Healy Cartel European version. The last video, part one of this podcast, got enormous viewership. Thank you all very much for watching it. I hope you're all back again. We're within about 20 views of becoming the most watched episode of the podcast. So thank you all very much for your support. And especially thank you all new subscribers that came in after the last episode. It's very, very much appreciated. Bought a few pints afterwards. I explained where that funding goes. Hopefully you're seeing the result of it in front of you now. In any case, strap in. It gets pretty wild, and I hope you enjoy episode 13 featuring Olivier Leclercq and Nico Hueber. Here we go.
Barkeep, a man could die of thirst in this pub. Somebody buy me a pint, please.
Okay, after that madness of the rights of man, I don't see much reason to stop. So we're gonna just show one more little example. As I talk a lot about, again, I said earlier, have some fun with your music. If you like listening to blues, or you like listening to jazz, or you like listening to whatever you like listening to, see if you can start incorporating that a little bit. Some people will get pissed off at you. Some people will think it's great. Just deal with it. If you want to have some fun, have some fun. So we're going to play now a very, very, very traditional song from up north in the country a little bit. Very widely known, beautiful song actually, called Carrick Fergus. And what we'll do, same thing, we'll play it in a very traditional style first, and then we'll get a little shaky with it as the expression goes. So Carrick Fergus. setting, traditional style of Carrickfergus, and now something a little bit different. We always try very hard to make each other laugh as much as we can in the middle of this. So here we go. Once again, Carrickfergus, slightly different setting. Carrickfergus in a slightly different fashion. Okay, so now we're going to have a bit of a peaceful, calming duet from my two French brothers here. It's a beautiful song. I've heard Olivier sing it a lot of times over the years, but since Nico's here, they do such a great job of it. I'm just going to sit back and have a drink and enjoy this. It's a tune called Misty Morn Shore. I think it's a relatively modern song.
Yeah. I know this song from a famous guitar player in Brittany called Nico, and he used to be part of the band Arcadia.
Oh yeah, yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah.
And so he was the guitarist and singer.
Ah, okay.
In this band. Yeah.
Great. All right, lads, go away.
Waving at the ocean, and the sand was in her hair. Thought she was the first mate I'd ever seen before. She told me she was very on a misty morning shore. Very in the morning, I miss you all the more. Very in the morning, on a misty morning shore.
Listen, I'm gonna go off program for a second here. As long as you two guys were playing together. You two have a tune that you play. You play on the fiddle, of course, on the guitar. It's a 3-part tune. The first 2 parts of it are relatively normal, and the third part goes into this weird time signature or weird rhythm. Do you know?
Donald Money, maybe.
It might be. It's I just remember it's a 3-part tune. It's really cool, and I'm with you for 2 parts. But I got to get Nick to show me the third part of it sometime, because as I say, it just goes into a.
I think that's Donald Money's.
Oh yeah, okay, this one, yeah,
Yeah.
it's one count.
Yeah.
Yeah. Want to try it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's the one. how we do things. Things spring to mind and we say, why not? And all of a sudden we're 130-mile-an-hour Kerry Pope. That's the way to go. So we have a couple of tunes for you next. I think Nico is going to feature the banjo on these next couple tunes. The first one is a song that hides as a tune sometimes if nobody knows the words to it. A fairly common thing in traditional, well, just traditional everything music. The first tune, I know it as The Little Beggar Man. And the second tune is a pretty widely played tune, and none of us can think of what the name of it is, but for those of you keeping track, it's in the key of D. The second. That last tune, is that the easy one? Ah, no. Great swingy tune, whatever the heck it's called. You know, the important thing in these various traditional musics, it's not especially the name of the tune, because a lot of these things travel under 4 or 5 aliases. You know, a tune can, for example, start in Scotland as a tune called Sandy Duffs, and it can end up in Ireland and become a tune called The High Reel, and it can go someplace else and be called something by another name. Learn the notes, learn the tunes. My old friend Phil Malachny that I mentioned earlier, he would never ask, do you know the Silver Spear? He'd just lean over and say, have you this one? And he'd start a tune. So my little tutorial that I made for learning traditional Irish music in his honor, because it's a collection of 30 really standard session tunes. In his honor, I named it Have You This One, because I think that's just the greatest way of starting. You just launch into something, and if people join in. If they don't, it's a solo. Everybody gets to have a drink. So we have, speaking of well-traveled tunes that may well have started off in Scotland, it's a tune very famous any place I go, a favorite with fiddle players. It ranges in the number of parts that it has. It always has at least 2 parts, an A section and a B section. A lot of people know it as a 3-part tune. A lot of people know it as a 4-part tune, and some crazy people like me know it as a 5-part tune. We're going to play it today as kind of a 3-part, I think, version of this particular tune called The Mason's Apron. Yeah. So, I thought so. Speaking of various names, I kept on waiting to think of a second name, and that's not needed. Take it away, Nick. Yeah. Well, after the madness of the Mason's apron there, Nick, could you give us all of our young struggling or old struggling or just plain struggling fiddle players out there?
Yeah.
Do you have a couple of suggestions? Now I know you've studied different kinds of fiddle playing. I think you studied improvisation and the traditional music, all kinds of things. Here.
Yes, okay. I started first studying classical music. And, so I was very shy at that time, and it was difficult for me to have get to the exam at the end of the year and pass to the next year. So it was not for me. And then I switched to more jazz music, which was more a little bit cool. Difficult for people like me who were shy at that time, of course. And because you have to express yourself and to be free from everything, but it's difficult when you're in front of people and you want to be free. It's very difficult. So and then I discovered folk music, and he's a very cool guy, and no problem. And you can start it with this kind of skill and mix with other guys with higher skill, and it was just a full pleasure sharing, and it was for me the music I was for.
Yeah.
Then I was playing like that. Very silently, and of course my body was also very shy. And then I discovered that I can press the bow. It started to be dramatic for my bow.
Well, there's some horses right up the hill from here. There's a horse farm where we will swing by and
I will
chase them later.
And I discovered with it that we can have a huge way of playing with the violin, especially when you press the bow. For example, here you can imitate the
The beams and the bows. Yeah.
That sounds like me in the morning when I'm first walking around.
Yeah. So it's starting like that, and I was exploring different sounds, different things, and now I like to press my bow, and with also open string, and to play hammer style, like with the
Very-
like
Hammer time.
Yeah, hammer type. And yes, so it's a great pleasure for doing something like. This is my Jeep. Go strong, and you will discover things, and it's a real pleasure to make this instrument not more shy like I was. Yes.
Yeah, as you know, I do a lot of teaching, and I've had a lot of people come to me that are shy to begin with, and they start to play an instrument, and they're shocked that they make sound on the instrument. So then it's a trap with the shyness and a loud instrument. And I always tell people, just don't play from here, play from here.
Yeah.
You're pushing something down in here. Find the right instrument and your approach. You have your own approach for playing the guitar. You have, as you just demonstrated, your approach to playing the violin. I certainly have my approach to playing fifes and flutes. Learn your instrument, learn how it functions, learn how it works, and then, as Nick was saying, he used to be a very shy guy. I think he's gotten over it. I'm not completely sure, but yeah, something tells me you're not quite as shy as you used to be when the instrument is in your hands. I mean, if you've been following the podcast series, you know the first person I interviewed, thanks to Stefan, was Ian Anderson, the flute player from Jethro Tull. And when you see him on stage, he's crazy and leaping about and very, very theatrical in his playing. But in the interview, he says this great little thing, just almost in passing. He wasn't even thinking of it when he said it, but that jumped out to me. He said, I don't become that guy until 10 seconds before I go on stage. So he's speaking in the third person about that guy that goes out on stage. He said, I'm happy to be home with a cup of tea reading a book. And that's not the impression you get of the man when he's out on stage. But as he said, he switches into that just before he hits the stage. So if you have a little bit of shyness, if you're looking for a way to express yourself, try it through instruments. You never know what's going to happen. So we're going to close out the podcast here. First, merci to my brother from another mother for all these years, and Nick, it's been so great to me. We've known each other for quite a while now, also. But I think you hear why I like playing with these guys. I mean, it's just pure joy. Sit down, make a bunch of noise, have perhaps one adult beverage over the course of the year. I just came from Munich with a friend of mine who was knocking back 6 liters of beer a day with no problem. So we're going to end up with a really famous, very well-known session tune, 4-part tune called Farewell to Aaron in the beautiful key of A minor. So I hope you enjoy it. We're probably going to be sitting around here playing for the next 5 or 6 hours. I think Stefan has something to do, so I don't know. He may be sliding out the door here at some point. I don't know. But farewell to Aaron. Guys, thank you so much. It's just been...
Thanks a million.
It's been what it always is, man. A blast. All the way. Well, there you go. An evening spent with the Healy Cartel European family, featuring the great French connection of Olivier Leclercq and Nico Hueber, who are two of the nicest guys you're ever going to meet, number one, and two of the most fun musicians you're ever going to spend the night playing tunes with. So thanks a lot to my brothers from another mother, Olivier and Nico. I always look forward to playing with them, and I look forward to the next time, wherever and whenever that will be. But now to the business at hand, which is our tune and a tip for today. I'm going to take a look at and break down for you the great reel, The Mason's Apron. Thursday's podcast, I played the two-part edition in G major and in A major. And so today we're going to take a look at the G major 5-part setting of The Mason's Apron. And it goes something like this. So that's the 5-strain or 5-part version of The Mason's Apron. So I'm going to slow it down a little bit now, break it down for you a little bit. I'm going to try to leave out as many grace notes and little ornaments and things, give it to you kind of a bare bones setting of the tune that you can then, as you get more comfortable with it, start filling it in the way you like, play your own ornamentation and your own variations. Okay? So, The Mason's Apron. Okay? Very simple, very straight ahead version of that. To look at it a little bit more closely. So up to your second octave G, and now you're going to drop down to a first octave G. People put a bunch of rolls in there, all kind of stuff that's going to go on. I'm going to play this now as 2 Gs, and in the chord change coming up, I'm going to play it as 2 As. So again, just a pretty bare bones version. Standard ending to the line. Again, we have our C natural working in here. Taking a look at the second part, now it starts to get a little bit busy with some little octave jumps and some little pedal tone deals going on. Again, I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible so you can pick it up a little bit more easily. So the end of the line is the same as the first part, nothing new to learn there. Looking at the beginning of the line. So first, we're going to be dropping down to a B note. That B there on the end is important because it's our leading tone. It's the note that's going to lead us into the chord change. And this is where it kind of gets a little A minor-y. So we're going to be going to our C natural. Now in this, where you're jumping back and forth a lot, for me, it's fine if you just use the one finger C instead of 4, 5, and 6 also. You have enough action going on. Try to make it as simple as you can. Okay, so that is your two-part setting of the Mason's apron. That's the one you hear most often in sessions. Okay, so again, try and keep that a little bare bones. I kind of stumble a little bit once in a while trying to drop the notes out because I'm used to putting a lot more garbage in there. But again, trying to keep it a little bit bare bones. So 1, 2, and 3. Now coming into the next part, really sounds like kind of a bluegrass, swingy 3 against 2 little variation that got tacked on. So this is the one part that I'm a little bit not so sure how old this is. Again, this was probably in the Michael Coleman variations, but he recorded that in America, so who knows who he bumped into over there, or maybe that's the version he brought over from Ireland. I wasn't there, you weren't there. It is what it is. Now, at the beginning of this, because it is this body da 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 body da da da, we're getting a real swing element introduced into the tune here. So I like to start it usually with a little slide going in, because this really is a very rolly, very triplety, 3 sounding thing, so I don't like starting on a square 2 at the beginning of this. So those little back triplets, the 3 against 2, whatever you want to call them, they're not that hard to play. The harder part is remembering how many of them you need to do, because you're now doing a swing element that's against the downbeat, so you tend to get lost a little bit about where you actually are. So I try to remember the 1, the first beat of those is going to be this low D. So I count that as 1. And then I remember there's going to be 4 times that movement that's going to end on a D again. Okay? Now, you're going to say, Skip, there's one more than you're saying. That last one to me is the release that's going to start bringing me into the next part. So there's those 4 Ds, and this next part I'm thinking is a little bit more attached to the chord change that's coming up. Okay, if you want to, you can think of it as doing it 5 times, but I like to think of it as 4 times with a release. Okay? And again, with our ending from the first couple of parts. The first part, the second part, the ending is a little bit different at the third, although I've heard people use that same ending in the third part. I've also heard about 7 different ways of ending that third part. So pick one you like, go with that. Again, the guy who wrote the tune or the woman who wrote the tune is not here to correct us. Try to play a socially acceptable version of this. Again, when you're playing this 5-part version, it's a little bit more of a party piece, which means if you're at a session, you're a stranger at a session, and somebody asks, go on, play us your party piece. That's your favorite tune. Little chance to show off a little bit if you got that in you, or just a tune that you like to play. So in your party piece, go ahead and come up with your own setting. Again, make it recognizable to the rest of the world of what tune you're playing, but some little endings, some little spice, some little ornaments, however you like to play it. So just to look at that one more time. So I've heard some people do that, where they do 2 E's going back in that back triplet thing. I don't like that so much. I like going the E to the A I've showed you a couple times so far. And just showed you a little triplet at the end there. So now the fifth part, which to me is the hardest of all the 5 parts to play. So again, we'll keep it a little bit slow and a little bit bare bones. Third octave C natural, that's where you want to use this one. Okay, now on that third part, a lot of people like to add a lot of triplets and things in there. Play it as you like to play it. Straight notes, triplets, however you like. It's your tune. Play it the way you like to play it. So one more time, kind of up to speed a little bit. So there's the 5-part Mason's Apron in G major. And I'm seeing I'm getting close to 20 minutes on the tip here, and at 20 minutes sometimes this recorder cuts out. It seems to be set, that's the maximum. So we'll take a look at the A major version of that at a future date. Basically, just go up a little bit. Start on an A. So there you go, everybody. I'm out of here. Go forth and flute. Cheers the new, as they say in Scotland. Bye, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the podcast, and please subscribe. I need the help. Cheers now.